I mean, there's a lot to nerd out about in general.
There is.
Um, hmm, I can always talk about that video game that I've been playing that I was trying to get you to start playing, The Long
The like
Dark.
the Oh, the Long Dark. Yeah, that looks pretty sweet. Yeah, let's hear it. What's your most recent cool find in the game there?
So mainly I have just been trying to craft clothing based on hunted animals, which for backstory for everybody, it's a survival game in the winter Canadian wilderness, and you have like nothing to start out with. It's pretty cool. Um, I'm obviously oversimplifying it because I don't really want to spoil too much for anybody.
But I guess just
But
to tell people about it, the thing that appealed to me the most, seeing you play it for a bit the last time we hung out, I really like I really like the attention to detail. Like food has X amount of calories, and you need to consume so many calories to move. Temperature,
mhm,
hydration, sleep. Like I really like the way they make it like very hyper realistic in that sense.
it's
Um,
pretty cool. Yeah,
yeah,
certain actions require a certain amount of calories. If you don't have enough calories, you can't do it.
that's cool.
Hypothermia, frostbite, things
Yeah.
like that.
So
Not
are
to
these new
mention,
clothes you're crafting? Are those going to give you more like thermal resistance against cold
mhm,
extremes? That's cool.
mhm. So I finally unlocked the ability to make clothes out of like deer, for example. I made deer pants and deer boots, so they're
Nice.
like ultra resistant, lightweight, that sort of thing. But I made a jacket out of wolf pelts, which
Uh,
actually acts as like a deterrent to the other wolves. It's kind of like
nice.
just the way the game has it designed, but
Yeah.
it's a pretty cool feature. Um, but again, adds that like natural heating, cooling, protection, all that fun stuff.
Nice.
That's really what I've been doing is just kind of trying to get back into the survival aspect of it because that's another thing I like to do for like therapeutic style relaxation is just kind of chill and you know step out of this world but into another world where things still matter but they don't. If I
Yes.
die, and that's okay. But also, it'd be pretty cool to see how well I can do. You
Yeah.
know,
That makes
it's
sense.
nice when it's not my stakes on the line.
Yes. So it's almost like a training simulator, like you mentioned a flight simulator earlier. It's kind of like that, where you're like, okay, I don't ever want to be in a situation where I'm flying a plane and it depends on me landing it safely, but I'll use a simulator
Mm-hmm.
to see how good of a pilot I'd be. It's kind of the same thing. You don't ever want to be stranded in the Canadian wilderness during a long dark with mysterious vanishings, but how good would you do
Quite
if you did? Right?
exactly,
Yes.
exactly. And I would gladly go and do like a full on flight simulator, even one of the things that moved, just let's stay on the ground.
Yeah.
And like I've gone camping before. I've roughed it and I could do it. I'd
Yeah.
rather do it online on a video game though.
Yes. When
It's
I left the army, I was like, I will never camp for free again. No, like I'm done.
I don't blame you. I do not blame you, my friend. It was an interesting experience because I'm a rather city kid, so camping was it was cool. I enjoyed it and I would like to do it again. It's just I would like to do it perhaps on my terms and kind of my way
I was gonna
because
say
my
I'll
friends
glamp with you, but I won't camp with you. I'll just be there in spirit.
see I'm kind of I'm kind of between glamping and real camping. Like I would like a nice RV,
Yeah.
but I want to spend more time outside. I want to hike and fish and have a fire and do all this stuff and literally just have four walls and a mattress for
Yes.
sleeping, but do the rest of the stuff outside. Because
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Because then it's
I
like
can't.
you're hiking, you're doing cool stuff outdoors, but then when it's time to go to sleep, you have a little bit of civilization around you. You know, some
Mhm.
infrastructure, some warmth.
Yeah, I mean I can bring whatever firearm I would like to bring, but if a natural trained predator sneaks up on me and bites me in the throat in the middle of the night, like that gun's not going to do much but sit there.
Bears are terrifying. It's true.
I'm good on that. Or even a bear, like even if it doesn't sneak up on me, like if it just is like, hey, I'm a bear, you want to fight? I don't. I
No,
don't.
no. I
So
my worst. So this was at a field training exercise when I was in ROTC, We were on Fort Carson, and
Hmm.
uh, we knew it was potentially going to rain that weekend, so I had like my waterproof gear packed and everything, and we were out there for like 3 days. So for the 2 nights, we were just no tents or anything, just our sleep rolls and like our waterproof linings or whatever. Um, I did not secure mine properly at one point, and so it rained overnight, and all my stuff got wet. And then nearby, I forget, someone dropped something or something happened, and a bunch of dirt, like wet dirt, got in my eye, and it was
Oh
dark and I couldn't
no,
get it out. My flashlight wasn't working, and that was like one of the most miserable nights of my life. It was awful.
that I mean that's rightfully so. Sounds awful.
Yes, that sucked. So that was when I was like, never again, unless I'm required by the US government. Never again.
I don't blame you for a second, buddy. That sounds terrible.
But I would like to, you know, go out in the mountains and just see nice views and then have a comfortable place to sleep. That'd be cool. That'd be fun.
Yes, that is what allures me to camping. That is honestly what brought me to Colorado in general was to just be able to go see something that I'm not used to be able to go be in a different environment 20 minutes away from my house still.
Yes. We should do a
That's pretty
weekend trip
cool.
sometime down to Alamosa. Have you been down there before?
No, I've never, so I'm still fairly wet behind the ears if that's acceptable here. Um, as far as
Is it
Colorado in
is that
general is
saying
concerned.
I don't use that saying, but is it not acceptable in some places? Just generally curious. I don't know where the term like the saying originates from. I don't know.
I don't know either. That's why I said it like that, because
Cool.
just in my mind, I feel like that could have maybe come from somewhere that was like no good.
Possibly. I
But
don't know. I'll Google it
I
after. I'm
literally just
curious now.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
You've
just mean
lived here
naive.
less than 2 years ish. Yeah.
Exactly. And a lot of it's been solo. So, not too much time to go out and do the exploring when you don't
Right.
know what to explore.
Well, actually, we should go to. So I've been to Alamosa. And there's a few cool things to see. I mean, it's kind of a small rural town. Like, there's not much in the town to see, but like, there's the sand dunes, there's the Gator Park, which is weird, and then there's the like, so you can go from like mountain foothills with snow to like sand dunes to like geothermal hot springs at a gator farm where it feels like tropical within an hour. It's so bizarre to go from like 3 different climates in an hour. But that so like the natural stuff there is really cool. And then we could go to I haven't really been to Durango much, but there's those really cool like cliff dwellings there that I do want to visit.
Okay.
So yeah, we should plan a trip. And if we go at the right time of the year, the drive there through the Lavetta Pass is beautiful. I used to go to Alamosa once in a while for an old job I had. Like once a month, I'd go out there, and it was cool. So
Nice.
yeah.
Nice. I think the most traveling I've done in Colorado so far was I took a motorcycle trip with some of the guys that I used to work with at the Harley dealership, um, to Cripple Creek.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, Cripple Creek, and that was a really cool ride. Um,
that's kind of on the like the back like west side of Pikes Peak, right? I've been
I
near
couldn't tell
Cripple
you.
Creek. I don't think I've really been. I've driven up to Pikes Peak, the summit, but I haven't really been to Cripple Creek. My brother's been there a bunch of times. He likes it, but
See, I've never even gone to the peak yet. That's how bad of a new Coloradan I am. I haven't gone and toured Pikes Peak yet.
it is very cool to do. I've been working out, so I'll go with you. But the last time I went up was in 2019, right before I moved back to LA for a couple of years, and I
Mhm.
went with my little brother, and the altitude it was hard on me. I was like, oh, I don't like this feeling. And so
Uh,
yeah, but it's a great view. It's really cool. And I don't like the drive either because so much of it is at such a steep angle. I felt like I was gonna like fly off, even though it was disorienting. So uh we'll take the cog railroad or something and go that way. But you can drive your own vehicle up most of the way, and then they shuttle you for the last bit of it. So
I've heard it's a cool motorcycle trip. I'd like to do that.
oh yeah,
I
that'd be
have to
cool.
teach you how to ride a bike. You have to get you on a bike, man.
I don't trust my motor skills, man. I don't think I'm
Hmm.
good. I'm not a quick reaction guy. Actually, this is a fun pivot because I know that you're interested in doing acting and you've acted a little bit professionally, and I've done
Hmm.
that as well. A lot of actors I've met, they tend to do either dance or martial arts for like mind-body coordination, and that's something I'm not excellent at, so I'd like to get better because like when I've been on shows or movies where we have a more dynamic scene, like blocking is hard for me, and like moving around an environment and focusing on my performance and not the stuff happening around me. So
Mm.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, motorcycling. I mean, it. You have to have fast reflexes. You have to have quick awareness, quick reaction time, and good awareness. Um, but
That
it's
makes
really
me
fun.
nervous.
It's.
Yeah, it makes me nervous. I'm a pretty good driver, but like I don't know. I don't like to be in situations where I have to react quick physically. Like I'm usually okay
I,
in them, but I still avoid them just out of anxiety, you know.
I mean, proactivity is the best approach, obviously, but in terms of a situation where there are other people involved, you also have to have quick reactions. But I don't know.
We got to do
It's
another episode and have my buddy Chris on the podcast because he's big into motorcycles. I feel like you guys would have some cool discussions, and I could sit there and be like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm enjoying this.
See, I'm not like a motorcycle guy though. Like, if you want to ask me how to fix a bike, couldn't tell you. If you want to ask me, like, you know, talk different models or compare this guy to that, like, I can't. But
Oh, okay.
I just really enjoy riding motorcycles and having the fun of operating them and
Yeah.
the camaraderie of, hey, we're both on a bike versus in a car. Like,
Yeah.
respect.
That's cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of a lot of support actually in the motorcycle community that I've found. It's another keep talking about therapy outlets, but
Yeah.
motorcycle is another one because like I mean, ultimately you're focusing on trying not to hurt yourself or
Yeah.
anybody else.
Yeah.
Um, and it's all on you a little more so than if you were in a vehicle.
That makes sense.
And when you see other motorcyclists on the road, like we all do the motorcycle piece or the motorcycle nod or the
Yeah.
wave or whatever you want to call it. And it's kind of unspoken, but from what I've gathered, it's a mutual respect of, hey, let's not die out here.
That kind of
There's
camaraderie, I think, is so integral to the human experience. Like, I, I have a lot of uh, negative memories of the military, but I do love that nowadays a lot of people, if we just have that military connection, there's kind of like a hey, what's up, like fellow veteran, you know?
mm-hmm,
That's really
mm-hmm,
cool, and like you get that in like certain industries, like the film industry, and then like you talk about it with motorcycles. My buddy Nathan's a truck driver. He's been on the podcast a few times. He has that respect with fellow truck drivers, you know, and like it's cool when you
mm-hmm.
have that kind of bond of like we've endured the same crucible together and we're continuing to do so, like mutual respect. That's cool.
Yeah, I really enjoy that part of it. And I don't know, there's a lot of politics in motorcycling if you subscribe to it, or you could
How's
just not.
Oh, well, that's nice you can opt out. So I'm gonna say
Yeah.
sometimes that tarnishes my uh veteran military camaraderie is politics. So uh yeah.
I
Which
don't
again,
mean
sometimes you can
necessarily
opt out,
like
yeah. Like I know it's probably different than
government,
yeah. I'm curious what are the differences there?
just like Harleys versus sport bikes, or
Like certain club
like
affiliations type things like that?
club riders, yeah, that sort of thing. All the just different little. If you if you subscribe to it, then there are rules to follow, but if you don't, then there are not. And it's a very interesting
Yeah.
thing that I never would have expected in terms of like I just see us as big kids playing with our bikes still.
Yeah.
They just got bigger as we got bigger and faster as we did.
There you go.
But it was really cool. Um,
That's awesome. Well, it's like you're
don't
joining a
go
new
off Sons
culture,
of
sort of.
Anarchy.
But, oh yeah. Did I tell you I used
Don't
to
go off Sons of Anarchy.
I've never seen it, but I had an apartment in LA on the I guess the main street of that town where it's set. So like
Hmm.
they would block off the main road to film there all the time, and it was a huge pain in the ass because they were when I lived there they were doing like the final season I think. It was up in
Oh,
Tahunga in the foothills. So yeah, I never watched it, but a lot of the actors lived near where I did. So like my roommate at the time, he said he would see them at like the local hardware store where he worked all the time. I was like, that's cool, nice. So
that is pretty cool.
and actually, shout out to my acting teacher Julio. He's in the spin-off show MC Mayans, I think. I haven't watched any of them, but you know,
I liked that show. Um, it's just once I started like meeting people that did ride in like an MC or stuff like that, it's just
not
you
truly
learn
real
real
thing.
quick where TV drama comes into play.
Oh yeah, that's yeah. Dramatic license is a very real thing.
Hmm. But I'm almost, I'd say, halfway with this Mimic so far.
Yeah, it's looking good. I see you're working on the hinge right now. I think probably on
It
the back.
looks like no,
Oh,
well,
that's
this
the
is the
latch on the
front.
front. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
that's
this will
cool.
be the clasping mechanism.
Very nice.
Um, I like how it's got the like a little handle, like
Yeah,
gold
you can have
bar.
your little Lego figures lifting a giant chest. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's awesome.
All right, so we got that on there like that. Let's see, let's see. What about you, man? I know you've been working on some writing projects recently.
I have.
Anything worthy of discussion at the moment?
Actually, yeah. So I was thinking about this morning, working on my third book, which I've actually talked about on previous episodes of the podcast, like a summary of the so there's a few screenplays I don't want to drop on the internet yet, the premise, but
Sure.
um no, the my third book, The Owl and the Eagles, I was thinking, it's my first two books are fantasy novels, and they both have a map at the beginning of the book. And I've had people who are like, "Hey, like I'm into fantasy books. I like that there's that very common trope of when you open a fantasy book, the first page is a map of this fictional world." And so when they open a book and they see a map, they're like, I know it's going to be an adventure I'm going to like. And so
Hmm.
I was trying to think for this book because the premise is a guy in our world goes into a fantasy world. And so I was thinking that I would start the book with the map of that fantasy world. And then the first couple chapters, he's in our world, and then he gets pulled over to the fantasy world. But I was thinking, like, you know what? I want to open it with a map of Earth, of our world, but just done in the style of a fantasy map. And then later in the book, once he learns more about the world he's in and someone shows him a map, the main character, that's when the readers get to see a map as well of that fantasy world.
Okay,
Yeah, I thought that'd be cool. And then
that's
it
pretty
also,
cool.
I decided on something I like to play with is little formatting things in my book. Like my first book, Exile into Sand, each chapter, it was just chapter whatever and a name. And then my second book, Galgathor's Gambit, every chapter was from a different character's point of view. So it would just be the chapter
Ooh,
number and then that character's name. That was it. And
I like
so,
that.
yeah, that was fun to do. But for this book, since it's all pretty much from the point of view of the one protagonist, I think what I'm going to
Hmm.
do is do chapter one. And then it's going to say like, because in the initial chapters he's in our world, so it's going to say like the opening takes place in like in Brazil. So it's like chapter one, Boa Vista, Brazil, April 15th, 1965. And then the next chapter is going to be a couple days later as he goes into the Amazon. And then the third chapter, when he's in the fantasy novel, is going to be chapter three, just all question marks. And then the next chapter, he learns about, okay, I'm in, Mount Erig of this kingdom, and it's this month I don't know about, but it's the 12th day of the month, and it's the year of the emperor's reign, whatever. So then the chapters will switch to giving you info as the character learns it, which I think it'll be fun. So it's still very
That
early
sounds
stages,
pretty
so
cool.
I'll see if I keep those formatting choices or not. But
Sure,
yeah,
it sounds pretty cool though, man. I like it.
thanks. I'm excited. I hope it. I had an outline and I'm revisiting that and really retooling it. So I've also been rebuilding the map and kind of starting over a lot of the world building because I want to world build with the narrative outline in mind since it's more focused now. So
So, what made you think of this? Like, where was your inspiration as far as coming up with this book in general?
honestly, um, I'm trying to remember. It was during the pandemic, so I was spending a lot of time at home with a lot of thoughts bouncing around my head, and um, it's changed a little bit from the initial premise. But I thought okay, the idea of someone going from our world into a fantasy world has been done a lot. If I was going to do that kind of story, how would I make it different? And then I thought, okay, like what if it was people from our world going into a fantasy world? Because a lot of times when that happens in those stories, they go to that fantasy world and it's either that people there have magic and stuff and the person from our world is an outsider who has to learn their ways, or they kind of do that, like we were talking about, kind of that lame trope of, oh, you're the outsider, now you're our new like chosen one savior, you're going to help us. I didn't want to do either of those things, but I thought, what if I kind of took the latter and like warped it to where people from our world do have special powers in the fantasy world that everyone else doesn't, and then it's the main character who's overall kind of a good person, and then like three of the worst people going there. So in my story, it's going to be a guy hunting, Nazis and hiding from war crimes in the 1960s in South America, and he finds a portal to a fantasy world, and now there's three Nazis and him, and they're the only four people in this fantasy world that have amplified magical abilities. And so he's got to kind of rally everyone and fight them. And so I want it to be a deconstruction of why fascism is so problematic and what brings people to realizing consciously or not that they're following those types of ideologies, and then showing ways to undercut them, not only through rallying people and going to war over it, but like how to undercut the rhetoric and like stuff like that. So that's what I'm trying to do with it. So yeah.
It's a very deep message for something that seems like almost like a fantasy style concept at heart. Like when you look at like, okay, this guy's going from like this world to another world, and it's that seems fantasy style. But then when you explain the levels of like the struggle that he's in, the purpose that he's there for, the fight, it I like the depth that it adds to it. I think that's a really
Thank you.
cool concept.
I really appreciate that,
Mm.
man. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I've found that when I try to have a theme or an idea or something that's really relevant to me and almost daunting to explore, that's when I do the best writing. Like, um, for my book Exile into Sand, which is the one that people have enjoyed the most from what I've seen of my readers, I was trying to kind of analyze and like break down the feelings associated with my arc of growing up religious and then getting super into religion in college and then pulling away to be an atheist like I am now. So I wanted to kind of
Hmm.
look at how people relate through their feelings and their internal monologue to religion. Um, and so it was almost kind of a cathartic thing for me, and that seemed to resonate with people. So for my second book, I was more plot driven and less thematically driven. And I'm really proud of my second book, Algathor's Gambit, but that one has been less resonating with readers to some extent. Some people still really like it, but so for this third one, I do want to go and have a very clear theme I want to explore. Um, and then based on the scope of it, I'm guessing there will be themes that are explored in less depth along the way. So I'm excited for that too. Some of which will
Yeah,
reveal
man,
themselves during the writing process, and some will be in the outline. So yeah,
that's pretty cool.
yeah, it's been fun.
Nice, man.
I've been seeing a lot of when I'm too like tapped out creatively to write. Um, I will try to like listen to interviews with writers or listen to podcasts with them talking about their process to kind of give me
Hmm.
motivation for when I'm back into it. And a lot of them have been talking about really focusing on your like first line or first paragraph. And I've usually been more of like first chapter, first page to hook the reader, but I thought of a really cool opening line for my book, and I'll actually debut it here real quick. I'll pull that up.
Hey, hey, all right.
Yes. So I wanted a line that would just grab people. So it's like the first paragraph, but it's a short paragraph. So I decided to
Hmm.
start it off. This is just like the opening line of the prologue. It says he knew that his superiors wanted the target captured alive. A public trial was worth a lot of political currency. But today his target was a Nazi, so dead was fine by him. And that's just the opening paragraph of the book.
That
Yeah.
was fun by him.
Yeah, just to kind of set up that he's in Argentina hunting Nazis, and then the story goes from there. So yeah,
Nice. That's pretty cool, man.
yeah, it's been fun.
I've never actually written a book myself. I've wanted to and thought I could, but then when I sat down to it, I was like, yeah, this is for somebody else to do.
It,
So that's
it's
impressive.
well, thank you. I think you would be good at it because the one time we wrote something together. First off, I've seen how you role play D&D, which I think you can really extrapolate someone's creative abilities and writing style from playing D&D with them. But we also we never finished it, but we started writing a fan fiction episode of Always Sunny. Remember?
I thought we did finish it. We just never.
It was we wrote like 2/3 of an episode, but it was about the gang playing D&D, and I really like collaborating with you. That was very fun. So we should do more of that because that was very fun.
I think we finished that. If you double check, remember?
I will
Because
double check. I have it on my computer.
with
Where did
Charlie kneecaps Mac.
That's right. Should we do a table reading of what we have so far right now, just impromptu on the podcast?
I mean, I'm down if you are. I just
Let's see. Where did I
I don't want
save
to be
it?
too distracted.
No, we'll finish the Lego. We'll save that for another time because that would be fun. Where did I save that? I know I had it somewhere.
I'm not sure.
I'm gonna find it. My
Please do.
my file saving. You know when people say like there's a method to my madness. That's like half true for where all my files are saved on my computer. So it's there. It's just it's all scattered around.
I think this.
Oh, I found it.
While you're doing that, okay, nice. I think this the way they have me building this this mimic is very interesting. I'm doing it almost like circularly. Like I'm going I feel like a 3D printer almost.
Interesting.
Like I'm going from the bottom, going around to one side, then back to one side from like spiraling up. It really feels like a 3D
almost like
printer.
you're building it from the core, like spiraling. And, oh, that's fascinating.
All right, so here we'll do.
I'm loving how they're layering the flat panels on the outside. That's a really cool look. The chest, yeah, that's sweet.
I think this is going to turn out looking really, really cool.
Yeah, I'm looking at her. We got 16 pages, so for a normal episode, we're about 8 pages short of a normal runtime. This would probably be about 15 minutes if we read it out, but that's
okay.
We have a few spots where we've just put little placeholders, like in this scene, this happens, and we didn't write it out. But I like some of the jokes that we thought up, and yeah, your way of writing the dialogue in their voices was really solid. That was very fun.
Nice. I've never actually done
play
any.
With my cat. My cat loves to play fetch, and so he always brings me the toy, and he's just scratching. So go get it, Amos. There. Oh, good boy.
Yeah. Bruiser is just staring at me like, why are you talking to nobody and not paying me any attention? If only you knew, buddy. If only you knew.
One of my
luckily,
cats, he can. Most animals don't care if someone's like talking on a phone on speakerphone, but when my sister calls and we put it on speaker, one of my cats, Amos, he thinks she's in the phone. He tries to like flip it over. He's like scratching under it. Like it's crazy that he recognizes her voice. I've never had a cat do that before.
That's really cute.
Yeah.
I wish I weren't so allergic to cats because I do appreciate cats. I just can't be near them.
That is understandable.
All right, so I'm putting the foot plates on the chest because apparently, it's got to have foot plates to make it legit.
Of course. Not a real
All
tree.
right, so
They have that. Well, those are technically the mimic's feet too, if it wants to waddle around and
True, but then I had built the front, then it took me to this side, then I did this side, and then this one, and then it took me back down to the bottom. Now I'm flipping over finally to bag number 2.
Nice.
On the parts. So I'm halfway through because they were only numbers 1 and 2. Which is a little different than most Lego sets. Usually it's like 1 through whatever.
Yeah.
Beggars can't be choosers,
Hey. At the end of the day, you got a mimic. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it.
Nice.
These bags open. And I'll fish out my dice, which I think I have them actually.
Nice.
Yeah, got my dice sack here.
Nice.
So
Ooh, I love that. What's the design on there?
so it's a
Is it an
little
elephant?
elephant.
Oh,
Mhm.
that's cool.
It's like a little burlap sack. It came with little incense cones when I first bought it. That's what were
Whoa,
inside of it.
that's awesome.
Yeah. And
That's
then the
very cool.
bag was nifty enough that I was like, you know what? I can use that for something interesting. Oh, D&D dice. Same thing.
Nice. In my
And my
years of playing D&D, I like when people have cool dice holding bags and such, because you have no
mhm.
idea how many times I've seen like the dusty old Crown Royal purple sack holding dice, and I'm like, is that the only bag people have? Come on.
It's just it's not clever. Like,
Right?
ooh, I drank alcohol and saved the bag. Oh, okay,
Okay, yeah.
brag
That's very
about it.
cool.
I guess you kind of are, but okay.
I
All
have
right, so
one
let me
player
get
in one of
the.
my games who has a little chainmail dice sack that I forget if he bought or he built himself, but it's like it's heavier than it looks. So we have like an in joke in this one game where he'll hold it up and he'll be like, "All right, you rolled a run. You got to like tickle the sack." It's just
Oh,
this metal sack. We just mess with each other. It's very funny. Shout out to Zack. He's
that
awesome.
nice, 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 nice.
I was thinking about how we've touched on like therapeutic techniques so much in this episode, and I was
Mhm.
gonna ask, have you ever tried like meditation as a way to like relieve stress?
I have, and my issue is I become very relaxed without kind of getting into that. Like I fall asleep, man.
Okay.
Just to, for lack of a better term, I get so relaxed that I fall asleep, which is still helpful to the sense that like I've stopped stressing out about whatever I was stressed about.
Yeah.
But in terms of like using meditation to process something, I have never found success doing it myself.
Yeah. That's something I'm working on now because I tend to be a very I prefer to confront things with logic as opposed to feelings. And in some
Same.
cases that's good, but in a lot of cases it's not. So that's something I've been working on the last year myself, since I've mentioned on the podcast I have ADHD and PTSD, so I try to work through that. So I've done meditation, and I wanted to tell you the first story at the time of the story of the first time I meditated, because it's kind of a funny story, but I
Mm-hmm.
do like it. But I was talking to my therapist, and she said that for people with ADHD, doing it consistently, the consistency gives you the most results. So I've been trying to do that more recently, and it's been a bit of a challenge to get the achieve like the desired results. But the first time I ever meditated was actually in the army, because I had two Buddhist monks from Thailand attached to my unit. They were the coolest guys ever. They were like Buddhist chaplains, and they were the only two in the army at the time. They might still be. I don't know. I think they're still in. But no, there was one day where like we were drilling on a Sunday, and so they were like, "All right, everyone, like you have a couple options because it's Sunday morning. You can either go to the like the Baptist service with this chaplain, or you can go to the Catholic mass with this chaplain, or you can do guided meditation with the Buddhist chaplains, or you can work for 2 hours." And I was like, "Guided meditation it is. Let's do it." And so I
Yeah.
went and I had never meditated before then, and I at the time thought like, "Oh, this is nonsense," you know. And I went in there and I was sleep deprived. I was like, I don't want to do this, but they had the music and the breathing techniques, and it was incredibly relaxing, and just like I loved it. And so since then I was like, okay, there's some neuroscience here. So I've been a fan of it since then. But
I'm not against it. It's just I really wish it were more beneficial for me.
totally,
I can't seem to stay awake when I hit that super relaxing, peaceful feeling. And I like the meditative music. Like even if I've gone and gotten like a massage or something where they play like the tranquil spa music and you kind of
yeah,
just are meant to unwind and relax a little bit. Like there have been several times when I've had to be woken up
yeah.
because I fell asleep. Um,
The real
one
question
of
is,
them,
why don't they play that kind of music at dentist's office? Because I would love to fucking fall asleep when I'm at the dentist and wake up and they'll be like, "Hey, you fell asleep. We're done." That'd be amazing. But
it's probably too jarring. Imagine hearing,
that's true.
like
The
the
drill
nice
goes off, and
pan flute. Yeah, that would be killer.
I hate going to the dentist.
I haven't honestly. I should probably make a new appointment. I haven't been there in longer than I'd like to, but I never
During the
really had any issue.
that's good. I've had I've had some, but mainly it's actually with fillings I got in the army that were not done properly. So now I'm having civilian doctors fix the work.
Damn.
Yeah. Because when I was like in high school, I was a big soda drinker, and so
Mm-hmm.
that took its toll. A
That'll do it pretty quickly too,
couple
I've
years as
heard.
an alcoholic didn't help either. So glad I'm
I
not
wouldn't
damaging my
imagine.
teeth that way anymore. So that's good.
Yeah, congrats.
Yeah.
Big congrats on that.
I guess a lot of people when they get sober, they start drinking soda instead to kind of like almost like how smokers need something for like an oral fixation. And I'm very glad I
Hmm.
don't do that. For me, it's just coffee, water, and sometimes tea. So it's been better for the teeth. But
Coffee can't be too great though.
well, it stains. But if you get better about like brushing your teeth like right after, which I'm getting better at, it doesn't really damage the enamel because unless you put sugar in your coffee, which I don't. So that's
Fair enough.
yeah. But yeah,
I put some creamer, that's about it. But it's usually a flavored creamer that has sugar in it.
yeah,
So
it's still better than
that's where I
soda.
fuck up. True.
One of my cats is going behind the webcam, so it might look like there's an earthquake, but there's not. It's
That's
just
okay.
Haru who likes to nuzzle cords, which is annoying.
He's one of the older boys, right?
Yeah, he's my 8-year-old cat. Hey, don't bite the end of my webcam. I'm worried is the webcam I have now, it attaches to the top of my computer and there's like a cord that goes in the back. So if he bit it at the right angle, he could yank it out. I don't think he will, but
Oh, that'd be
that,
fun.
that would be fun.
Hmm.
Haru,
All right.
play in the
So
box. I just gave them a new box and they were playing in it, but now Haru's got to come hang out.
I think I'm working on the lid piece now.
Ooh,
I mean,
yeah.
I have to be, right?
I
I have
think
to
so. I
be.
mean, it has that same reddish interior, like it's the gums of the mimic, and based on the size and everything, I'm sure it is. Come here, Haru. Come say hi. There's Haru, my big guy. Look, do you see yourself on camera, or are you just looking at the lights? Okay,
He's looking at his escape route.
right. He's my big floof, my big floofy floof.
I saw something that said cats' bones are like not joined the same way that other skeletons are, and that's why they can fit through things so easily.
I
I
think
didn't know if you knew anything about that.
I think so, and I also have seen that cats have like a lot more empty space in their body than most mammals. Like I remember one of my cats once we had to get an X-ray for him, and looking at the X-ray, I was shocked at how much empty space. Like his organs were just like a little bit in there, and like there was so much space around it. And I was like, "Is that normal?" And the vet was like, "Yeah, that's why." In the words of Charlie Kelly, cats don't abide by the laws of nature.
Hmm, truly.
Yes. So yeah, cats are silly. I was editing an old D&D video, and it was when my cats were little teeny kittens, and they're all crawling over me. And I remember when I could hold them each in one hand. Now
That's
they're big
precious.
9-pound hefty boys. Well, Haru, who you just saw, he's probably 12 pounds. He's a big guy.
Mm. See, I didn't when I adopted my dog, he was already 5 years old when I got him. So I didn't get
Yeah,
to like do the puppy fades with him, unfortunately.
yeah,
But I bet that would have been great.
yeah. Our family dog Buddy, growing up, we got him when he was 6 years old. Because the family that had him before, the dog was staying with the grandma who she got dementia, so they were like, we got to put him up for adoption, and so we adopted him.
Mm.
He lived to be like 24 years old. He lived a long time.
My mom's trying to find me another dog so that Bruiser has a friend, but
You know, do you think
I
Bruiser
don't
will get
know.
along well with other dogs?
So it's hard because he does, but it takes a long time, or like he has to do it on his term,
Totally.
and that's difficult. Like if I were gonna say like adopt a new dog or something like that, because you know Bruiser being a jerk to that new dog at first might then put a sour taste in the new dog's mouth, or
Yeah.
somebody might not want to let me have another dog, or like take that dog, so to speak, because they think Bruiser won't get along with him. And it's like I've had the best luck with like girlfriends and their dogs because Bruiser already got to know them and bond with
Like
them.
through almost how you're dating the girl, Bruiser's dating their dog simultaneously, right? And getting to know them.
Kinda.
Yeah.
More so like Bruiser is dating them, like the
Yeah.
person.
Okay.
So he's like, okay, I trust her. And then, oh, you're her dog. Okay, cool. I guess I can trust you by default.
Nice.
That's that's the most success I've seen so far.
That's cool.
Um, Otherwise, I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that as he gets older, it's kind of something that will grow out of him, but it's a traumatic response. So I get it
Right.
if it's a lifelong thing. I just feel bad because, I'm not a small dog and I don't have the same energy as a dog,
Right.
and I can't play with him the way that I'm sure he would like to.
Bruiser is adorable. How old is he?
He's close to 10, if not already.
Yeah.
I would show, but he heard me
That's
say
fun.
his name too many times and ran
You
away.
can send me a photo of him and I'll edit it into the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I adopted him when he was 5. That's why I think he's about 10 because it's been about 5 years.
Yeah, that makes
But
sense.
like he doesn't have too much gray in his coat, and he still acts spry, like super spry sometimes. But then there are other times when he acts like a little old man.
Yeah.
So it's just hard to tell.
Yeah. Well, you've told me like because he's a what people will see when I share the photo on here. He's a pretty stocky guy. He sounds
Hmm.
pretty dexterous for a dog of his build. Like you told me about training him on like playground equipment and stuff, and that's pretty cool.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, he loves like agility trials. Like one of his favorite things was to run full sprint up and down a ladder to let
that's
himself like that was play for him
because I would
to the
describe
point
if I
where
had to think of a single word to describe his body type, it would be bowling ball. I guess that's 2 words, but he's like a very hefty, compact guy.
he's got a very muscular, classic Staffordshire, aka pit bull build.
Yeah,
But he's small, so he's much more condensed. So he's almost
is
like
is he small for a pit bull? He
mhm,
is okay.
because he has some dachshund DNA in him, which
Interesting.
keeps him pretty small.
Okay.
But he's like a stretched out bulldog almost with
Oh,
his build.
yeah. Oh,
But that's my
stretched out. I
little
thought you said
man's.
stressed out bulldog, and I was like, oh,
No,
he's stretched out.
stretched. Yeah, a
That's
little
funny.
longer, a little taller, but still pretty solid all around.
Yes. He has the cutest face.
Yeah, and then that like he still kept his puppy face, so I could only imagine that when he was a little puppy, like he could have done anything he wanted without any sort of trouble, I bet.
Yeah, right. One of my kittens knows he's cute enough to get away with anything, and it's
Hmm.
you're too smart, aren't you, Amos? He's sitting right next to me in this box. He's too smart. I wonder if I could pick up the box now. He'd freak out. He wouldn't like
Hmm.
that.
Now is Amos the cream colored cat or the darker cat?
Yeah, the darker kitten is Cassian, and then Amos is
Okay.
kind of got he was very like white when he was a kitten, and now he's got like some nice shades of gray. He looks very distinguished.
Nice.
Yeah,
Very
they're
distinguished.
they
That's cool.
they were born on May 18th, so they're 10 months old now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you get them from somebody?
Yeah,
Like
actually, shout out
I
to my
should say?
friend Claire. Yeah, we went to high school together, and she knew that my cat Russ passed away back in June of last year. And so she works at the Humane Society here in Colorado. So she was fostering a whole litter of kittens. So I got to go meet the whole litter, and I picked these two goofballs because I
Nice.
liked their vibes. I met them when they were a few weeks old, so they were like a pound each. It was amazing. They were so small and cute. So
That's
small.
precious.
They grow very fast. It is shocking. They are still just as cute, just different. A little more troublemaking, but I love them. They're amazing.
That's great, man.
Yes.
So how many kittens were in their original litter?
9, I think.
Sheesh.
Yeah. Yep.
Have you always been a cat guy?
Um, yeah. We had a cat when I was a kid, but I was so busy with like school and stuff. And she was also we adopted her from an adoption shelter. I think I forget how old she was when we got her, but she would hide a lot. And so she wasn't super friendly. So we had
Mm,
her for most of my childhood, and then my siblings were into dogs, so we had dogs growing up. And then when I was in college, I was in ROTC, and one of my instructors deployed suddenly to Afghanistan, and so she needed someone to watch her two cats. So I watched her two cats for a year or two. I kept them while she was in Afghanistan, and then when she got back, I had to give them back to her, and I was sad. Benny and Charlie were
oh,
their names, yeah. But they were silly. They were big for cats too. I'm remembering like I joked at the time, I was like, these guys are like mutant cats. They were each like 16, 17 pounds, and they had like weird deviated septums. So, like they'd walk around just like you could
oh,
hear them a mile away. They were weird, but they were
that's
goofballs.
scary.
Yeah. And then yeah, I didn't have a cat again until I had some roommates, and they had a dog who I got along with really well. And one day they're like, "We're gonna adopt a cat. Are you cool with that?" I was like, "Sure." And they got my cat Russ, and our mutual friend, she got a cat from Russ's litter, Haru.
Hmm.
And then when I parted ways with those roommates, me and Russ had bonded so much. And they're like, "You can keep Russ." And I was like, "Good."
Oh,
And then our mutual friend, she was having some health stuff, some medical procedures. And she was like, "I'm going to put Haru up for adoption because I'm constantly having all these surgeries and I can't take care of him." Like we would babysit Haru all the time. So I was like, "I'll just
hmm.
take Haru too. That way I got two cats and they're brothers from the same litter. They get along." So that's how I got those two. And then after Russ passed away pretty suddenly from a heart condition, he was only like 7 when he died.
Mm,
Then I
that's
uh,
sad.
I
I'm
got
sorry.
yeah, I decided to get two kittens because I was like, well, Haru's clearly lonely and needs a playmate. But in case there's any weird tension between the new cat, I want that cat to have someone they're comfortable with. So that's why I got two cats in the same litter. So it's worked out pretty well. They all get along really well.
Nice.
Yeah.
I haven't had cats since I was quite young, and I realized recently, actually, I'm very allergic. And
Yep.
that was probably why my childhood, I grew up just believing my nose didn't work.
Just you thought you had seasonal allergies all the time when you were home.
Yeah, it was terrible. Well, I mean, it was to the point where like my clothes were saturated. So like
Right.
I'm going to school, like no matter what, I just was in
Yeah.
a constant state of allergic like
Oof.
response. And then once I got older and I moved out and I didn't have any pets at all, and I'm like, what what is this feeling? Is this what breathing is? Does everybody get to do this?
Well, I'm
It
glad
really
you
tripped me
realize that
up.
about yourself because that sounds exceedingly unpleasant.
Oh yeah, it was no good for anybody involved. Wait,
Nope.
what this says? So
Ooh, interesting. That's the eye. Oh,
yes, but
so it seems like the eye swivels when you open the thing. Is that okay? It's on a swivel
mm-hmm,
itself. Very nice. Okay.
mm-hmm. I'm just having trouble. So we got that.
Oh, so is this one is the eye, or that's how the mimics are. The eye's kind of at the top, almost near where the latch would be when it opens.
That's the part that's throwing me off, honestly.
Here, let me grab my keys and we'll check out the mimic that you gave me for Christmas. Let's uh so here's our mimic here. You got the little
Mm-hmm.
little key there. I love this lock. It's so satisfying to open somehow. But oh no, see this one the eye is in the rear.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah, so with Legos I feel like it'd be easy to kind of have a thing mounted at the center of the top panel, you know?
Yeah, I'm wondering. I don't know though. There have been times when I've been building and I'm like, that's not how that's supposed to work. I don't understand. And then I just keep going.
And then it
And there's
makes
a reason
sense.
why, yeah,
Yeah.
people get paid to make these and I pay to build them. Okay, so we got
Apparently
that.
they're making a Minecraft movie with Jack Black, and he said he's been playing like 8 hours of Minecraft a day to prep for the role. I was like, that's a pretty sweet way to get paid.
I'm telling you, man. Whoo, that would be fantastic. I don't know. I'm not that big into Minecraft though. Wait, what
I've
did I
never
do
played it.
wrong here?
People
Hold
say
on a
it's like
second.
digital Legos, so I'm like, okay, I respect it, but I've never played it, you know?
I know what I did wrong. Put it on backwards.
Oh, the eye?
The like eyepiece.
Mm.
I'll show you.
I have an
Second.
interesting question for you. Let me know when you're ready for it.
Oh shoot.
If you were going to get like $1 million, and to do so, you had to live 1 year in isolation, and you could choose though either 1 year in like deep space or 1 year at the bottom of the ocean in like a little like submersible little habitat. Which would you choose?
Hmm. I don't know. That'd be petrifying either way around, honestly.
Yeah,
Um,
and I mean same provisions, same level of safety and space within either the submersible or spacecraft. So the only variable is the really only difference is space or underwater. I'd I'd pick space, even though I don't particularly want to be in either environments. If I had to survive in one, I would rather, because again, in either case, it'd be pretty much the same experience unless something goes wrong, and I would rather something go wrong in space than under the deep ocean by a small margin. Neither one are good, but
I am right in that perfect point of I don't think I'm doing this right. So,
see, I had an idea for an app recently, and I realized if I were to try to develop it myself, I would be in that headspace that you just described pretty much the entire time. So, trying to
hmm,
this is a Nerds and Friends announcement. If anyone wants to be hired for an app developer for rather cheap for a simple, straightforward app idea, let me know in the
hmm.
comments.
See, I knew that was gonna happen. So you do that, and that piece goes here. But
It looks like based on the angle of the teeth, that's the front.
the issue is here. I'll show you. So,
That looks like how you had it moments earlier when you showed it to me.
sorry,
No, you're good.
except
It looks further back.
I don't know how to get this piece based on the design. It would be so this here
That little
would
flat
have,
round, like the circular piece.
yeah, so we've got it here clipped in. Cool. Got those, got those, got those.
Yeah.
Bring it over here to this side. And it says that I put a little post like this.
Which I assume has
Cool.
a round gripper socket. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Little ball, right? So it says I put that in there. Cool. So I've got my eyepiece built.
Nice.
That says,
Oh yeah, now it's different earlier in the 107 panel, right? Oh no, I see the gripper. It's right above the little round thing.
yeah. So I put it here.
Mhm.
Boom. Snapped in. Now, this is where I'm confused.
Oh, because the dots flip. I see what you mean.
So how do I put this in here it without it bouncing off right there?
Well, there's got to be a gap so the teeth, or I guess maybe they just are meant to overlap and not collide. I don't know.
Thinking I'm gonna have to go back a little bit and double check something. Like that there. There's not enough space
Is it only gonna overlap one row?
Mm-hmm. Unless these are meant to be back further, and that's where I messed up. I don't. Oh, I did mess up. Okay, cool, perfect. We get to edit that out, and it'll look like I'm flawless.
Jake, how'd you figure that out so quickly?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
What can I say, man? I'm just fantastic.
Have you seen the trailers for that new Netflix show? It comes out later this month, The Three Body Problem.
No, but I've seen like the thumbnail, and that it alone looks interesting.
Yeah, I'd heard about it. A couple of people told me about it, particularly my friend Jared, who's also been on the podcast. He was telling me a
Hmm.
lot about it. He actually bought me the three books. I have them right above here on my desk.
Oh, sick.
It sounds really interesting, and I tried reading the first book, and it's a little hard to read because it's translated from Mandarin. The guy who did the
Oh,
translation did a really good. It's a Chinese novel. The guy who did the translation did a really good job, and like where there were references to like cultural or historical things, he had like footnotes explaining the context of those references. So it was a it was a little bit stilted in that, but it felt like I wasn't missing anything. But like the
hmm.
first like chapter was like so grim. I was like, and it took place during the Chinese Cultural Revolution in the 70s, which I didn't know about the history. So I was like trying to Google it and like learn more about the context, but it was very grim. And I was like, I don't know if I want, this is not what I expected. So I kind of like put it aside and I haven't read past that, but I saw the trailer recently and the show looks incredible. I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to read that. But I might just watch the show before reading the book because I'm like, I want to watch it as it plays. I don't want to. I can't read the whole book in a month, you know. So
Yeah,
I'm a I'm a slow
interesting.
reader because when I'm reading fiction, I really like to like envision it and like sink in like the narrative implications of every line. So I read
Hmm.
like if I'm reading something for just information, I can read pretty quick. But when I'm reading fiction, I'm probably a lot slower than average in my reading speed. So it takes me a
See,
long time
I
to read
prefer
books.
fiction to be audiobooks, honestly, because then it makes it almost like a movie.
Yeah.
I can see now how people back in the day could like gather around their radio to listen to like their favorite program, and it just just reading a book would be really cool because then you can imagine your own things. And I also don't have the same like attention span with reading as I do with listening, because like I could sit here and build a Lego and listen to chapters of a book,
Yeah.
but probably after one or two of just analog reading, I'm like nodding off.
Yeah. Well, that's my problem too. Is that because reading is a little bit like lower input stimuli with my ADHD, I only read before bed. And it's like a
Mm,
couple chapters and then I fall asleep. So that doesn't help my speed either. Cause like there were a few times as a kid where I'd pick up a book and be like, this is really interesting. And I would like spend my day sitting around the house reading it. And as an adult now, I'm like, I want to be laying down, like comfortable in bed. You know, like I don't know. Because if I'm going to be sitting up doing something, I'd rather be doing something even more fast paced. So I don't know. Actually,
that's why I like the audio.
I got to do the audiobook for my book Galgathor's Gambit, and since every chapter is in a different character's point of view, you should voice one of the characters. That'd be fun. Switch it up.
I would
Every
love to do that.
chapter's a different character. We should do that. That'd be cool.
I
I
would
have
love
a
to. That sounds
I
really
have an
cool.
Amazon quality mic now. I just got to learn how to upload and edit the audio files, and then I'm golden because I want to do the audiobook for Exile into Sand with me narrating it for that one because I've been told I'm a good reader. So that'd be fun.
I
And
mean, I
audiobook sales are a huge percentage of indie authors, so I got to get in on that. I'm missing out on like 68% of the market.
I mean, I listened to. I couldn't tell you how many books last year alone compared to how many I have in the past 5.
Yeah,
Like it's just the ease of access of it, of just yep, listen to a book, pause, play. It's just like music, but except you've got a story you're continuing.
that's cool. I've always been more visual than auditory when it comes to learning and information processing. So like I haven't listened to many audiobooks. The most recent one I did was I was rereading the Expanse books, which are my favorite book series of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a book I'd read, but it'd been a while, and so I did a road trip down to New Mexico for the solar eclipse last year,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so I listened to the audiobook down there and on the way back, and it made the drive go by really quick. I really enjoyed it, and I listened to about half the book during that drive. And then when I got home, though, I picked up the physical version and continued reading it. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, my brain likes to be the one reading it so much more. And I'm so frustrated by that because I could consume so many more books if I could just listen. It's
Mm-hmm.
frustrating, but yeah.
A lot of the books that I listen to, they do have multiple readers, or they'll have
Yes.
like somebody who does multiple voices. So it's really cool to get the like refresh almost of, and then he said this, and then he said this, but she replied, and then you just get that more natural. Well, why do you want to do this? Because I said so. That's what like it. It's
Yeah.
not she replied. She just does reply. It's much more cinematic to me in that regard.
Yeah. And like when I listened to the audiobook for that Expanse book, he was one voice actor doing all of it. And he
Hmm.
changed his vocal intonation and pronunciation for the different characters enough that they were pretty distinguishable. But
Hmm.
part of it that threw me off was that I'm a fan of the show as well, and I watched the show before I read the books, so a lot of those characters, I tie the actors' voices to that character, and when I'm reading,
Hmm.
I'm imagining them performing it, so that kind of pulled me a little bit. But
That's fair. I mean, that's
well,
understandable with,
next time we hang out, I'll give you a copy of this guy. You can let me know which characters you want to read for, and we'll go for it.
yeah, man.
That'd be very
I'm
fun.
surprised you haven't. I'm
But
surprised I haven't
yeah, no, I'll give you both mine next time. I keep like a box in my trunk of just because Amazon has a very nice shout out to Amazon for they give you author copies pretty much at cost. So I always have some
oh
on
no.
hand in case someone wants to buy them. Because even if I sell my books at like for $10 in cash, I'm making a profit, which is
Sure.
nice. So yeah, no, I got
That's cool.
boxes in my trunk of just copies of my book. So I gotta start going to Comic Cons and selling them at booths. I got to do that this.
Yeah.
I should do that this summer. It's probably too late to get tables next summer. I don't know. We'll see.
One of my
In the
headphones just died.
comments,
I don't
tell
know
us
which
about
one.
Comic Cons and how authors have marketed their books effectively. I don't know.
If anybody has any ideas or any cool Lego sets, wants to shoot any links or anything like that of some cool things that you would like to see get built, um, this was the first time, so we will obviously get better at the whole Lego building while conversating. But definitely let me know what you think would be cool to build.
Yeah,
I'm always down for new suggestions, and it'd be cool to build something that necessarily I didn't think of. It's
and people can support the podcast by checking out our Patreon or sending us a Lego set for us to build on camera.
I'm not opposed to that. I will
Right?
gladly build a Lego set if you put it in front of me and tell me to do so. Twist my
Yes.
arm about
And that is how entertainment is made.
it. All right, so now I'm getting here. Looks, yeah, we're making some progress now.
Nice.
I'm putting the sides of the chest on right now. So we officially have.
My
Why is
cats
that?
are, they figured out they can swivel certain parts of the box and they're just very excited right now.
Hmm.
I'm
That's
glad my
fun.
I'm glad my microphone isn't picking up the little like just their little claws against the cardboard.
All right, so we got a lid
Nice.
with our surprise eye in there,
Very nice.
and then we've got a base
Very
with our
nice.
surprise teeth in there as well. Now, the last few pages are going to be to get these two pieces joined, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be something like so.
Yeah.
When it opens, then you'll see the eye. But let me
Well,
just
it
get
looks
this.
like there might still be one layer of shell around the top piece because I see how
Maybe.
the bottom has that nice flat lip area just beyond the teeth. I wonder if there's going to be a
Mhm.
nice flush contact surface there, you know?
I think with maybe the hinging mechanism that it has me build.
Okay, nice.
Long boy. I think it's really cool with Lego. My mother actually, shout out to my mom. Um, she just has been supporting this habit of mine, and she thinks it's really interesting how like the design of Lego ends up being what it's supposed to be, even if like me, a grown man, or an 8-year-old child, or somebody like how do they think of these things? How do they know, oh yeah, you have to build this upside down, but then in 3 steps, then you flip it right side up, and that's gonna look correct. Incredible minds.
Yeah. And I think it's also like, again, because like we've seen like, I'm sure you've seen it growing up, and I did too. When a Lego book has like a diagram that's unclear, it's like so hard to intuit what they want you to do sometimes. So like,
Hmm.
I think it really makes whoever's designing those has really good communication techniques. And
Absolutely.
they've shown that like diagrams like that tend to be able to convey the most complex information to the most amount of people. Like this actually is a story of when shout out to the Veterans in Film and Television Network. They have a new acronym now. I keep forgetting what it is. But we got to have dinner with Stan Lee once back in 2014, a couple of
Oh,
years
nice.
before he
Yeah,
passed away,
yeah.
and he was talking about how his like history when he joined the army was that he during World War II he was already working. He started working for Atlas Comics, which became Marvel, as like their ink like bicycle runner when he was like 13. It's like he started working because his parents were immigrants and lived in New York City, and so he was working for them. And they had, I think really their only big property was Captain America and a few other heroes, but they were starting to decline. So when he was like 15, they were like, we're going to go bankrupt unless you want to buy it. And he was like, sure. So he bought it for like really cheap. And then he owned Atlas Comics and renamed it Marvel. And during the war, though, like when World War II started, they were like, we need you to start making Captain America stuff as like pro America propaganda, basically. So they were
Hmm.
like telling him like what to do and like subsidizing some of his work. But he wanted to go and join the army and go deploy because he went to go sign up and they said, sorry, your work's important on the stateside thing, so you can't go. And so he changed his name from Stanley Leibowitz to Stan Lee. That was his like fake name he used to go and re-enlist in the military. So he joined, went through basic, and he was getting ready to deploy as a like a radio like wire layer. And then they figured out that he was actually Stanley Leibowitz who owned the comic company. So they were like, we need you to stay here and keep making Captain America comics. So, but they said we can let you stay in the military in like a stateside capacity. And so he started designing instruction manuals that were comics essentially, detailing how to do things. And they ended up like the field manuals to this day in the military use the same structure that he developed because before that it was all like dense military textbooks and he made it all field manuals with diagrams. Like that was Stanley did all of that. It's really cool.
But yeah, I remember you telling me that military story. That's really interesting, honestly. I mean, it makes sense. It's a shame that like the military needed it to be dumbed down that hard, if I'm honest.
Yep.
But hey, at least we're here, right? We
Yep.
got it.
I remember I had one sergeant who he was showing us how to like set up a claymore, and
Mhm.
on the claymore it says this side faces enemy. It's like printed in big letters, and he was like, the army designed so that even the dumbest person can not get it wrong. And I was like, I mean, it makes sense. Like,
That's just, yeah, I mean, it's a good thing, you should foolproof some things. That's
right?
not too bad. I'm not
Yeah,
against that.
yeah.
We are making, I'm pretty sure this is going to be the grand hinge scheme because
Nice.
I just made like,
Oh yeah, that looks pretty hinge like.
yeah,
Very
together.
nice.
And I'm going to put these cappers on the end.
My cats went back to sleep. Good. There's minimal chaos around me
Would be taking too long. They're like, look, you're bored. Okay, so I'm gonna grab our lid piece here.
Very nice.
Let's head over to the back of that. I figured out the dilemma. I had missed just one flat piece, and it was making everything misaligned. So I
Ah.
figured, got that back in there. Now I got this
What's the
on.
term for that? A keystone? Like the one piece in an arch that makes it all have structural integrity?
Hmm. Or cornerstone sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, got that, got that. Because what you see in front of me is like all I've got left as far as pieces to play from,
Oh,
to pick from.
nice. Oh, yeah. We're in the final
Like, this is it.
stretch.
This is it. So
Random question for you. Have you seen Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon on Netflix?
no, a lot of people have asked me if I were to watch that. I believe that's a Star Wars project, right?
Not so. It started out where Zack Snyder, like, according to what I've read, he like wrote a Star Wars movie
Mm-hmm.
to make one set in the Star Wars universe, and Disney was like, maybe. And so he kept working on it. And then they were like, you know what? No, we don't like this. And so they kind of, he was like, well, fine, I'm going to make it my own thing. That's Star Wars esque, but it's not officially Star Wars, but it feels like Star Wars. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, that's cool. Like, I'd still like to see this, great cast and everything. And Zack Snyder can be hit or miss for me as a writer, but as a director, I like his visual style a lot. So I was looking forward to this, but the reason I haven't watched it yet is because, well, first off, since it's come out, a lot of people have said it's terrible, which sucks. But um, I also, he was like, we're going to put out a part one on Netflix, and then part two comes out, and then later we're going to do an R-rated director's cut of part one and two that's like extra and adds more. And I was like, I'm just going to wait for those. Like, why would I watch the PG-13 cut down version when I can just watch the full one when it comes out?
Yeah,
That seems like a really poor marketing thing to do in advance, to be like, well, here's what we're gonna do, because like normally it's like the best extended versions are like the Lord of the Rings, or like his cuts of other movies where they put out a movie, some people like it or some people don't, and then he goes, you know what, just kidding, I've got my cut that's longer and gets into it more, and people are like, oh, this is great. So I don't know why he would do that, like show all his cards ahead of time.
I I know what you mean, but I don't know why. Yeah.
Right, I don't know. So I'll wait till the full director's cut comes out, and then I'll watch that. But
Some elbows.
I think I'm going to tell the viewers who have hung out with us this long, reward them with the story of when we went to go see Argylle and how we did not finish
Oh
it because
yes,
it was
please.
terrible. Yes.
Yeah.
So me and Jake went to go see Argylle, and we bought tickets. We went to a lovely theater near us that has like actually pretty decent food. It's like one of those dine-in theaters. It's pretty cool. Yeah, Roadhouse, they're awesome. And we went to go see it, and like 45 minutes in, I think like I turned to you and I was like, "What do you think of this?" And you said, if I remember correctly, I didn't want to say anything, but this movie's terrible. And I was like, "Yes." And then you said, "Do you want to go back to my place and watch literally anything else?" And I said, "Yes." Um,
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever walked out of a movie due to sheer boredom 45 minutes in. Like, that might have been one of the worst written movies I've seen lately, and it was weird to see really talented actors like Sam Rockwell acting out what felt like a first draft from a middle schooler.
Yeah.
It was
Honestly,
so weird.
that was the first movie that I've ever been like, you know what? I'm leaving. I'm done with this. I don't care what happens. Keep my
Right.
money. Keep all like. This was just shit.
Well, I think when we got back to your place and put on a much better movie, I Googled like the twist and we talked about it. And I was
Yeah.
just like, okay, that wouldn't
Saw
have
that
been
one.
worth sitting through. Like, no.
Mm-mm.
I was very surprised. Like, Matthew Vaughn, the director, I mean, I love Kingsman, I love Kick Ass, X-Men First Class was solid. Uh, and then the guy who wrote it has done like the 2016 Wonder Woman, which I thought was a solid movie. Like, he's worked on movies. I don't know how it fumbled that hard. Um, it made me think of that quote in film school that I heard. I forget who said it, and I'm sure I'm paraphrasing horribly, but it was like the worst sin you can do in filmmaking is to be boring. And that's like, I've seen movies that are like, I'm like, afterwards I'm like, that wasn't a good movie, but I still like felt the need to see where it goes. This movie
Yeah,
just didn't grip me at all.
no
Like,
compulsion whatsoever.
no, and like that early scene where she's like taking questions about her book, like there was the one character who, when he asked something, you were like, that guy's going to be relevant, and then he shows up on the train a few scenes later, like he was
Mm-hmm.
watching her. But like that scene was like so poorly paced, where it was like they just literally showed they spent time, and like in screenwriting they say like time on the page is so important, of like someone asking a random question, and then like they spent time in between where it's like that person sits, people raise their hand, she picks one, they stand, they like say what the book meant to them. Like it was so first draft, and like the most amateur, like fundamental foundational things you don't do in screenwriting they did. And I was like, Apple paid 200 million for this. That blows my mind. It was, oh, I'm getting frustrated as a writer just all thinking about it. It was such a disappointing movie. Holy shit.
And for as much money as that movie made, I
That's
was
a
just
huge
like,
flop. Huge flop though.
well, I was just disappointed in the general public. Like, really, guys, I get it. We all tried it, but like, nobody could have saved anybody the time and money and been like, this is shit. Stop wasting your money on it. Like, I would have gladly been the first, but yeah,
Yeah.
it. I
Like,
think we can, and we like had to pay to watch like a Godzilla movie, and I was like, we should have done this from the start.
absolutely. Well,
I'd rather pay
because
to
it
watch an
was
old movie.
bought by Apple, I kind of wanted to be like, because I used my Apple card to buy the tickets, I wanted to be like, hey, Apple, can I get a refund? Because that movie was terrible.
I wonder. I mean, I honestly would try it, but I'm also I could be a Karen sometimes in that regard.
uh, Roadhouse has very nice military discounts, so the tickets were not expensive, thankfully.
Well, that's good.
Yes.
That's good. But shoot, the waste of time,
Right.
the
I'm trying
waste
to
of resources.
I'm trying to look up on my phone. I sent an article to a friend I was talking to the other day about. I could just go to our text conversation. Um, Let me pull it up here. Yeah, Apple recently, because Apple TV Plus, I actually pay for the subscription, and I've been very happy. Please don't alienate our podcast, Apple. I love their rosters of shows. For All Mankind and Severance are like two of my favorite shows ever. I've enjoyed Mythic Quest, Foundation. There's a lot of good shows, but like this year they decided to like start focusing more on movies, and so I guess here's the article I found. This is from Variety. Apple spent at least $700 million to produce and market Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon, which I have one major fundamental issue with that movie, but overall it was still a pretty good movie. Ridley Scott's Napoleon, which I have not seen, but I heard poor reviews, and then Matthew Vaughn's Argylle. So three movies, over 700 million, and the trio of those three movies combined earned 466 million at the box office. So they're at least 244 million in the hole. So I don't think Apple's going to make any more movies anytime soon.
It wouldn't make much sense.
I think Argylle was the main drive of that, because Napoleon didn't do great, but I don't think they expected a huge profit margin on that one, because it's historical fiction. That's not typically a hugely popular genre. Killers of the Flower Moon, I figure for that style of movie with that level of filmmaker attached, they probably didn't have a huge immediate box office profit return model, but I thought that movie did okay. So it was primarily Argylle that bombed that overall endeavor, and then Napoleon to some extent. But
So I've been seeing. I remember you invited me, and I was just working at the time. But that movie, Pretty Things, or is it Pretty Things?
Poor
Poor
things,
Things. Sorry,
excellent, phenomenal
Poor
movie.
Things. I've been seeing like Emmy nominated, award nominated, this, that, this.
Emma Stone got the Oscar for Best Actress this year for that, and it was
Word. Okay.
well deserved in my opinion. Yeah,
So I should probably check it out then, is what you're saying.
yeah. It's So I think some people won't be able to get past certain aspects of the movie in terms of like nudity and sexuality and like other uncomfortable content, but I think it was a
Okay.
really poignant movie. The cinematography is incredible, the acting is incredible. Um, yeah, it was a very dark comedy, but I really enjoyed it. It was just like an
What?
experience. Like it's like a steampunk fantasy adventure. It's really cool.
Okay. All right. All right.
If you had a pet mimic in real life, what form would you want it to take when it was in disguise?
Um, Probably something like mobile, like a
Mm.
business card or
Oh, that's
playing
a great
card or
idea.
something like that. Yeah, probably like a business card, and that way, like if I hand this business card to you and I decide that like I want it to attack you, then I like once it's gone, it can just attack you, eat you, and then come back over to me,
That's awesome.
or it could just like disappear,
Yeah.
and I'll only have ever given you that business card if I were trying to cause you bodily harm.
Okay. Well, now we have to
So
write the adventure of like the undercover assassin who has just a mimic business card. He can just kind of be like, "Here's my card," and it's just like that person just vanished. What happened? That is an awesome idea. I love that.
I think that'd be really, really slick. What the? Okay, a square,
Or
square.
if, as we established, the mimic is smart enough to talk to them, you could have it be a business card. And it could just like whisper them like misdirection, and you could like outsmart them in various games of subterfuge. You know?
You need a GPS that is
Oh, that's a great
a
idea.
limit and give self-destructive directions.
I love that. My gears are how to turn this idea into screenplay? Question mark.
So I don't know. You remember back in the day of like biting your Legos to get them to come apart and all the different ways you had to like try to like pry them apart and
Yeah.
getting them. I never knew that this was the Lego tool.
I remember the first time I discovered one of those, and I was like, "This is a game changer."
Yep,
Did that come with a set, or do you just have one on hand?
both.
Nice,
I like have saved one from like the first Lego set I built, but then also it pretty much comes with most of them nowadays,
nice.
which I think is a pretty cool feature because
That's
I
great. Yeah,
remember.
when I was a kid, they really didn't come with that. I think the first one I got actually was when I went on a trip when I was like 10 to like Legoland, and I was like, they had one there, and I was like, oh, you know,
Yeah, I mean that's a it's a genuine game changer as far as
yeah,
Legos are
it
concerned.
was revolutionary. Yeah.
Now this doesn't make sense to me. Why am I doing this?
That is
That
a good
doesn't
question. That doesn't. Yeah, I'm quite confused.
like I get it. It's meant to be a roof or like the lid and all,
Like some kind
but
of damage or variation in the pattern, maybe. I don't know.
yeah, that's the confusion I'm facing right now. Okay.
Or maybe so maybe this is my misinterpretation. It seems like those are kind of like the leather straps across the top to keep the wood kind of like closed
These,
or
yeah,
whatever. And like two of them look like they're kind of torn or like ruptured. So there's only like four that are intact. I don't know. I don't know.
maybe, maybe. I
Perhaps.
see where you're going. And now it's back to top to bottom, left to right.
That why? Why?
I don't know. Like, fuck it, I'll show you real quick.
At least they're numbered so you can follow it and it doesn't shift without you being aware of it, you know?
So yeah, we got. Is that
15,
right side up?
16. Yeah. 17, 8. Oh, yeah. And then 19, 20. Okay. Right. Pretty
Like
logical.
He's 16, 17. I would have figured that would have been 18.
Yeah,
Figured
so it
that would have been
switches.
19, and that would have been 20. But
Right.
no. So
And
we
then it
got
switches to the other
21,
way later.
22, 23, 24, like I would have
And
expected.
based on those pages, like the space of the diagrams doesn't need that.
25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. Like, what?
Maybe they were trying to save space on paper, so they just kind of, I don't know. That is frustrating.
So, yeah. Anyway, that's what confused the hell out of me just now.
That would
All
throw
right,
me
I'm on the
off.
line for 2 pages. So,
Final stretch.
okay, so we got that. Put in hot plate. Hot plate.
What is the weirdest thing you've ever seen while on your motorcycle?
The weirdest. Nothing really weird.
That's good. I guess that's a win.
Yeah, nothing like weird or even noteworthy, honestly. I take like a lot of scenic routes and like drives and stuff.
Nice.
One of the most fun rides I did, I rode from here to Bishop's Castle,
Oh, okay.
which is
Yeah.
really cool.
It's
Um,
south of here, right on the way to Pueblo.
hmm And I
Nice.
had to like go up through some mountains. It was really interesting, just like the different temperature changes. Like at one point I was
Oh yeah.
sweating, at one point I was shivering.
Wow.
Um, just with the different elevation changes. And funny enough, I was at like the top of this mountain when I had gotten there, and I realized I didn't plan properly, and I only had enough gas to get me about like halfway home.
Oh. And there's not much
So,
between here and Pueblo for those listening in who aren't from Colorado.
mm-mm. And so I got to like the official point of the hill, and then I thought about it, and I was like, wait a second, this is a manual operated vehicle. I, I turned it off and I just coasted down the entire side of the mountain. Like I never turned the bike on once until I hit actual flat solid ground.
That's
It was
epic.
great.
That's
It was
epic.
really, really, really nice to just like kind of like cruise control. And my bike, some bikes do, but my bike doesn't have cruise control. So
Oh
that
yeah.
was just really nice to be able to
Because then it's
steer it.
just your brakes and gravity, right? You're not burning any
Mhm.
fuel. That's cool. That must have felt very like riding a giant bicycle
Yeah,
down
and
a
I
big
was so
hill.
proud of myself for figuring it out. Like, okay, you can do this. You're all right, buddy.
That's awesome.
Um, I was relatively new into my motorcycle riding career. It was my first solo hour plus ride, like one way,
Oh yeah.
as you can tell. Didn't necessarily prepare the best. Like I didn't bring the right clothing as far as like changing clothes and layering and stuff like that. Like
That's
I
got
was
to be hard
freaking
because like as someone who's never been on a motorcycle before, like in my car, if the temperature changes, it doesn't affect me inside the car. You know?
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, like, I mean, if I don't have wind blockage, like
Yeah. You're gonna
I'm
feel that a
home.
lot.
Yeah. So we got that on.
Does your bike have like a little like gas gauge you can reference, or are you kind of just like, oh
Oh
yeah, it
yeah.
does. Okay, nice.
It's just I wasn't paying attention to it, and by the time I got up there, I'm looking and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm at like, a quarter of a tank. That's great. Oh, I am an hour away from home and I don't know where
Ooh,
the nearest gas station is, but I know it's not on top of this mountain.
right.
So I know I have at least 25 minutes before I get back to civilization, quote unquote, at the bottom of this mountain.
gotta use quotes when you're saying civilization about Pueblo.
Well, like I'm not. It's not that we weren't in civilization. Like Bishop Castle is like its own thing, and it's very well.
Yeah, it's
Like
out there. It's in the mountains. Yeah.
yeah, but it's there. Like I saw, like the people there, they had buckets, drums of gasoline for their vehicles because it was
wow.
one of those like, if we get stuck, we are stuck. So let's not get stuck.
Wow, that's
And
intense.
it would have been more worrisome if I had a car, I feel, because like my bike, again, I could just get enough momentum and coast down a hill.
Yeah.
But a multi-thousand-pound vehicle, there's no real push in that thing.
Yeah. Or you need to be at least idling to get it going forward, yeah. I'm very excited to see how this opens and closes. I bet it's going to have a pretty satisfying, like, close and open,
There's something, hold on a second, about to piss me off. I must have used red somewhere, I guess. Something doesn't make sense to me.
Looks pretty complete.
Or I used brown somewhere, I should have used red.
On just the bottom, on the back, it looks all brown.
So hold on a second. I think. Whoop! I just dropped it and it didn't break at all. That's sturdy.
Hey, nice.
Okay.
Let's see it. Oh, very nice. That looks like a treasure chest I'd want to open. Is there gold or jewels inside? Maybe potions or scrolls?
So you were asking this.
Oh, you flip it up.
Well, that's not supposed to pop off, but
I figured.
a wedge mechanism. So that's how you take it out. That's how you put it in. It just slots right in.
Okay.
There she is. Cool. Now for the treasure.
Oh, ah! Roll for initiative. That's awesome. I love that. Oh, I love with the eye and everything. Oh yeah, let's put some dice in there. Love it. Yes.
That's perfect, actually.
That fits, like, looks like you planned it that way. That's awesome.
That's excellent.
Oh, that's so cool. Next time we play, you'll just pop that on the table and just, here's my dice. Good to go.
Yeah, bro. Honestly, this could be my new dice carrier, actually. I mean,
that's sick. Oh, that's awesome. Love it.
I do too, actually, man. That came out a lot better than expected.
That works really. Oh, I love that. That is awesome. Well, dude, this has been an awesome inaugural episode of Lego Time with Jake and Josh. I love it.
It says it can stay open without support. It fucking can.
That's awesome.
All right.
You have an epic new dice holder. That is fantastic. Well, dude, thanks for doing this, man. I can't wait to do it again. Let's do it soon.
Thank you for having me. I hope it wasn't too long of a... We got some editing to do, but...
Yeah, it'll be easy, man. This is awesome. I'm excited.
No.
Sweet.
All right.